Okay, go ahead and get started in just a few seconds while people join. Hey, hello everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar, Advancing Precision Medicine and Life Sciences with NLP and Generative AI. My name is Jordan Leibovitz, and I'm part of the marketing team here at IMO. Before we get started today, I want to take care of a few items for those attending. First off, this webinar is being fully recorded and will be available to you after the webinar. Throughout the session, attendees will be in listen-only mode, but if you have any questions, type them into your questions section on your Zoom console. And if for any reason yours is not addressed at our Q&A session at the end of the webinar, we'll follow up with you after. Today we have our Senior Vice President of Life Science Solutions, Dr. Xiaoyan Wang. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass it on over to you, Xiaoyan.
Thank you so much, Jody, for the nice introduction. I'm Xiaoyan Wang. I'm here leading Life Sciences Solution team at IMO. My previous life, I spent 10 years at UConn Medical School as a professor teaching research and also hospital services. And then I spent 3 years at Mount Sinai Medical School, and also the company spun off from it. So spent 3 years in industry. I consider myself fortunate to really be able to span both the healthcare, health system domain, and also the life science industry domain as well. So today I'd like to share you some of those work we've been doing in the past years on both healthcare domain and also life science domain, and especially those projects and products we built using technologies such as generative AI, large language models, and NLP. So that is the topic today. So this is the agenda we have today. First, I would like to introduce you a few important concepts in the field of AI. One important one is natural language processing, NLP. The other is large language models such as GPT. So we're going to introduce that concept to begin with. Then next, I'll move briefly to talk about the user cases applications could leverage technologies of AI. There are a lot of user cases applications we can do, but due to the time limit, we have limited on specific areas. Then I will spend most of the time talk about two important areas. One is disease phenotyping and precision medicine, how AI, NLP, and the data can leverage together to solve those problems. The next important one is clinical trials. How and what kind of technologies can be used to streamline the process of the clinical trials. Then I will conclude the talk. So before we introduce any concept, I'd like to really go through the challenges we've been facing. For the last 20 years, all different agencies, the governments, private and public agencies have been spending billions of dollars to get data digitalized in electronic health records. All those systems, I mean, right now, every clinical care process needs to have a EHR system to digitalize all the data. That is by law after 2015. So for years, the data is there, but not much of use have been put on use. So what is it? Why is that? What are the challenges we're having there? So if you look at the data end, there are very interesting phenomena here. On one hand, which I list on the left side of it, as you can see, it's very rich. Thinking about as a patient, you get into the system and then your physicians prescribe you the medications, lab tests, and then sending you to different nurses, or if you inpatient in different sites. All those care process is very well documented with timestamps. So on the bottom of the left panel, I listed just those tables related to lab test. I know you're not able to see it, but just thinking there are so many tables really related on lab test, who was prescribed it, who got it done, and what is the value, and all those existed back end of the database. Just for your information, I've been joking in the past that I probably the only one opened up every table behind Epic and Sonar, which is 30,000 tables behind it, storing all those information. They are very rich. On the other hand, it's very heterogeneous, which I show on the right ends. On top of the iceberg, you can see there are 20% of clinical information in the structured format, meaning, lab test, prescription by physicians, and also the medications. Those are the structured data. The challenge for structured data are the very heterogeneous. So there are 26 ways of saying A1C tests. There are 50 ways saying, a drug of something, there are different dosage and all that. A lot of, normalization needs to be done for that 20% that information. On the other side, the bottom of the iceberg, you can see I put 80% of clinical information existed only in unstructured format, which including mostly clinical notes, imaging data, voice data, and all kinds of all those data are just sitting there, not touched, because it's very hard to get those information out. Thinking about the voice and imaging notes and all those kind of data. So then what are the technologies can be used, leveraged to solve those problems? I can tell you NLP is the first one proposed to solve the textual related problems, but the whole space of AI really targeted and aimed to solve all those problems on all areas of all those healthcare data problems. Here, I like to run a kind of concept clarification, because a lot of people use all those, AI, machine learning, deep learning, NLP interchangeably, but they actually quite different. The AI really is a much bigger space, talking about all kinds of automation techniques for any work related, transforming from manual, just simple person-based task to a at the scale automation task. That is the whole space of AI. Machine learning is a big portion of it, where deep learning about 10 years now really speed up a lot of process in the machine learning space. And NLP is a space spanning both machine learning, deep learning, prediction science, and also linguistic problems, as you can see. So the most recent and exciting element of it is, of course, GPT, which made public last year, or actually the November of December 2022. So that's actually catching the whole AI space getting to another AI peak. I've been by training, I'm an NLP scientist. So in the area for 20 years, I've seen a couple of AI winters, AI peaks, and this is another one. So among all those technologies, NLP, it has been considered as the crown of the AI, the peer of the AI crown, because it is the most challenging manufacturing of the intelligence, because language is very hard to understand, to get really structured, and it can be used for a lot of applications. So this is a few concepts on that. I think you probably won't be surprised, or maybe that's the reason you come to this webinar, because, the rush of AI since the beginning of last year. This is the one I'm showing all those companies reporting have been showing, they've been so frequently mentioned AI. Actually, my husband works in finance industry, and he's on the, all the whole stock market, etc. And every day, his video talking about his AI and all that. I said, how come you're doing that? He said, just every company now using AI as kind of, buzzwords on their business. This is just the reality. Has been, happy for a year or so. So why is that? I mean, on one hand, you know, we do see a lot of promises. As you can see, I can see here, this is, you know, the picture really showing because of the large language models, which GPT is one kind of large language models, and the generative AI is also another name of large language. You can consider those synonyms, even they actually have some differences. Generative AI on some generation of the new text and new understanding. So, but as you can see here, so language understanding, because of the parameters have been so much language models getting so big, it has a lot of capacities beyond the language understanding, go on the QA, answering, summarization, acquisition, translation, and all those areas. So another way to look at this is on the technology end. As you can see, there are different branches in the whole large language models. So there was, of course, GPT-1, there was AMBL-1, there was BERT-1, there was all those different branches. They have all their, you know, strengths and all the areas of their focus in the past about 5-6 years. So it's not surprising that AI hits healthcare as it is hits all other industry or even more. So the CEO of Enata actually recently said that, you know, the most promising area of AI application stays in healthcare. Which we've seen a lot of user cases in the past year. I mean, it's not surprising the first news of AI in healthcare is starting because ChatGPT passes the US MELI test, which quite some of the medical students was not able to pass. And on the right hand, I list there are a lot of applications, papers, research, user cases in the past year published. This particular one I listed here, published in Nature, talking about using ChatGPT or other language models as a kind of treatment assistance, help on mental disorder patients. So there are real user cases here really driving by large language models or AI. So in this session today, we actually want to focus on in the kind of, you know, drug discovery and the precision sets of it. So in the whole drug development space, so I list on the top of the panel, you can see I listed the whole process of drug processing, which is usually around 12 years or sometimes 15 years, the whole process, starting from the drug discovery, you know, basic clinical, and then searching through all the compound space from 10,000 space, 10,000 compound, and then after the early discoveries, maybe you have 5 selected and you think they are, you know, have some targeted indications, then go through clinical trials, and maybe just one of those make it to the FDA proposal, approval, and then it deployed to the market. Still marketing surveillance is needed on this. So those are the different stages of drug development. Across all those processes, there are different, you know, kind of data and AI technologies can be used to stimulate what I call the data intelligence. We really make data talk or make it to generate insights. You know, applications, of course, in the real world evidence, which is not surprising, is a big component across the whole process of drug development. Social media listening, patent review, competitive intelligence, systematic literature review, and then not surprising, clinical trial solutions, and also post-marketing surveillance on adverse events and safety reports. So those are the kind of user cases AI can bring the solutions to. So there are, as I said earlier, there are a lot of applications can be generated and have been generated. So briefly, I just mentioned a few areas. One of them is automated systematic literature review. What you can do is thinking about, you know, a lot of research has happened on a particular compound or diseases. There are a lot of those thousands or millions of those literatures, how can you really have a general landscape of the understanding of the space, which is the literature review? What you do is you really feed in the system of all kinds of literatures, publications, and then the system go on a lot of, I'm not going to go through the details because it goes through screening based on your needs and then go to the data extraction, got all those data elements you interested out and then structured it and then analyze it and then dashboard it for you. Well, on the right end, I show you, I know it's hard to see, but on the top of it, you can see all those knowledge have been structured and then you can analyze it. On the bottom of it, some of those analysis has been done based on your research interest. So NLP or AI can automate this process. Instead, olden days, people just read it and put in the Excel cell for downstream analysis. So this is the automated literature review part of it. So beyond literature, there are a lot of other knowledge bases. For example, if you're interested in particular compounds which is designed or screened to treat, I don't know, breast cancer, for example. So you also curious because it's been through like 3-5 years, been through billions of dollars now to the step you want to see if what other diseases can this compound be repurposed to. So to solve this problem, you want to leverage not only the literature space, but also a lot of knowledge space related on, what are the 3D version of the compound, what kind of, ligand receptors can be binding from there and what kind of biomarkers associated to it and all that. Those knowledge bases is how you integrate all those knowledge together and put them in a graph like what I showed on the screen here. So at the end of the day, we also not only put it in a graph format for you to really know knowledge-wise, but also we can compute the criteria to really weight on those different kind of concept association to help you to figure out at the end of the day you will get a list of diseases. So based on the current knowledge, this drug can be repurposed to. I think we can skip this one. Maybe we can talk this because I do have a session on this, but this is the overall on that. So really starts on the left end. Those are, from the pharmaceutical companies or CROs. Okay, here's the criteria I want to use to recruit patients, which exists as you can see, it's a kind of text format. If we can get all those structured as what I show on the right end, so everything is now computable. And then for those trials, for every criterion, then goes against to the patient data, which this is actually real data. Of course, I had all the patient IDs for every patient you screening on this. At the end of the day, you can see what I showed on the bottom of it, which is across last 20 years, all the breast cancer trials in my database, how many patients are eligible for those patients. So this is one kind of systems we have done. So then I move a little bit to the social media voice part of it. So as you probably can tell at this point that, all the EHRs are the physician's perspective. They really documented their understanding or their, documented process to care the patients. On the other end, the patient themselves also have their own voices they express in social media, such as, Twitter X or YouTube, Reddit, or whatever social platform they're using. So one, very important area we actually researched in the past years, of course, vaccine sentiments. So do people really believe in how the information of vaccine is spread across all their friend circles and how that really leads to the decisions of vaccine updates? So all those information expressed as a patient. On the other hand, experts, physicians, they also express their opinion on those too. It's very interesting to see, how those opinions are voiced in social media and how that really leads to a lot of decision makings in vaccine development or any other drug development process. So this is the social media listening part of it. Out of the events and also safety surveillance, know that this is one, drug really have two things: efficacy, are they good to enough to treat the patient? The second part is how, out of the events, can all those events, out of the events are tolerable to the patients. So out of events, safety monitoring is the very important aspect of the drug development. On the left one, I should list, this is the article I published many years ago. This is the first paper published using clinical data, especially clinical EHR notes, to manning all the adverse events. The rationale behind it is because we believe that the clinical trials after phase 1, 2, 3, they've been through some kind of efficacy and safety surveillance, but the limitations are the sample size of recruitment is usually very couple of hundreds patients, that's it. And the second is a short it only went through a short time period. Most of the time it's just a year or within 2 years. So you don't know what happened after 2 years. And also the third one actually is because clinical trials have those inclusion exclusion, it does not really mimic the reality of the patient. In real world, you do get a patient with all kinds of comorbidities, all kinds of conditions. How the actual efficacy or effectiveness of the drug is measured, you have to go through the real world setting with real world data. That's what we did on the drug safety end. So this actually, the work has really opened the whole real world data manning on the safety data. That's what published about 15 or 20 years, some years ago. Then on the right end, this is some of the recent work we did using generative AI, really search through all kinds of literatures or clinical trial reporting on drug events. This is the paper is under review right now. So what we did is we actually went through all the published conference abstract literatures on the safety and efficacy data. The one I'm showing here is the ADC, which is a very fascinating treatment in the cancer domain. What kind of adverse events associated with it across many trials in the past 5 years, for example. So this is on the adverse events and the safety end. So next, I'll move to talk about how AI can be used to find the disease diagnosis and improve precision medicine. There are a lot of diagnosis. Making a diagnosis sounds easy. It's actually very challenging. In the past, most of those cases, actually, it happens just based on the case report. Also, in the competition area, there are a lot of work has been explored in the past many years. I would say in the last 50 years, people try to use a computer to really see if we can really speed up the diagnosis. Intesis, the one from Rennie Miller, is a very important one back to about, 40 years ago, probably. So in that, the whole diagnosis process is what I listed here. So first, you really based on a lot of data on what happens research-wise and also what happened patient-wise based on your knowledge. And then you go through a lot of technologies such as AI, such as genetic testing. And then at the end of the day, you get diagnosis. That's really the whole precision diagnosis process looks like. This is a very cute report happened just a few months, last year, September. It's very interesting because this is the rare disease diagnosis. As you probably know, there's a whole research area called underdiagnosed patients, and rare disease is an important component here. The reason is because it's rare, we don't know much of it. So this particular boy, He has been have the chronic pain. He went through 17 doctors, was not able to get a diagnosis or a right diagnosis. Then his mom, because of ChatGPT, his mom actually tried using GPT, put on all his report symptoms, signs, and explores here and there. And then at the end, she actually finds the diagnosis and then went on genetic testing, and she actually did it. So this is just how amazing technology can help on the diagnosis from a non-expert or from, we call it citizen science end of it. So on the scientific end, we have done quite some research in the rare disease space. This particular one I'm listing here is a research around a disease called Prader-Willi syndrome. This is the syndrome caused by chromosome deletions in chromosome 15. So first, most of the rare diseases do not even have an ICD code. And also all the treatment, all the data are, I would say 95% of their information existed only in clinical notes. So manning through notes will be an important exercise to get the data and to really analyze and get insights. So as you can see, I'm showing here the kind of notes, sample notes, and actually in the next one, it is more even comprehensive notes talking about the whole kind of process of the care this patient received. So what we do is we using NLP and also large language models to really go through all those notes. As you can see, example I'm taking here those particular, because there are lots of behavior problem in this diagnosis, such as the patient is very greedy and seeking food all the time. That's why they also get lots of overweight problem as well. And they have a lot of behavior problems. So what NLP can do is to extract all those information from original text and also get it standardized and also ontologized. So this is, once it's standardized, it can be used to analyze the data and drive insights. So based on the NLP, we can, I would say easily, nothing is easy, but we can build the patient journey with what I show here. The patient was diagnosed at this time with such features. He or she showed some early signs, symptoms of the disease. So across some years, which triggered the diagnosis, and also the FISH test indicating the deletion of chromosome 15, and also the patient keep have more symptoms, and then receive the treatment with new features, and also the disease progress and treatment outcome keep happening. As you can see, NLP is the only technology can get all the data out structurized to generate patient journeys like this. Because the data is available, there are a lot of analysis can be done, which was not available before this. So we can really differentiate the treated outcome and then untreated and all the kind of analysis. We don't have to go through the analysis itself, but as you can see, the analysis is enabled because NLP makes the data available. The other case listing here is in the oncology space. This is particularly in the lung cancer space. So a colleague of mine actually was very interested to see, is there any imaging biomarkers for lung cancer? Meaning like the patient 3-4 years ago have some kind of imaging biomarkers shows on his or her lung, and then 3 years later, he developed lung cancer. Can we screen this patient early to get them better cared, and then to help on the disease prevention end of the story? So this is the motivation of the research. So we went through the data. He originally wanted to have, because it's the imaging data, he wanted to have really the kind of patient the data imaging data to start. It's actually pretty hard to get those because it's owned by different agencies, and it's very hard to get those imaging data at one place. So because of that, we actually, as I said, they can from the CT scan. The other alternative way is to we go through a radiology report, because radiologists, they actually read through the those imaging data, they documented on all the features of those imaging biomarkers, and then actually human generate data kind of good standard in the field. So it's even a better data than imaging itself. Here's what we did. We actually first ontology all the data. As you can see, the imaging biomarker we recognized is called ground glass opacity, GGO, which we went through all kinds of features or attribute of that imaging biomarkers, such as, the shape of it. Is that round or square or any kind of oval or what kind of shape, or location? It's on left, right, or upper, bottom, and all that. And then how many of those, because oftentimes they have multiple GGOs, and also how big it is, the size. It's 3 millimeter or something. And also, does it have the opacity inside of it? That's a GGO solidity. And also, some patients have one, and across the years, so the physician been monitoring that, is that change to be better or worse or stay stable? So what is the status? And sometimes radiologists also put on the potential causes of the GGO. Is that related to the cancer itself or some kind of infection or other things? So all those information exists in notes. We can use NLP to get them out. So this is the performance reporting. As you can see, for all those GGO features, we get close, very nice, above. I think most of those are above 95 or 98% of the performance, meaning we really good and comprehensive enough to get all those features out. So because all of that, we able to survey the population in that database and get all those features and how that leads to lung cancer, and then GGO attribute itself on location, potential etiology, size, etc. All I get out. There was a lot of analysis downstream. We don't need to talk today, but I can just let you know that this is one. They're actually, because of the data availability, so we actually able to predict the lung cancer using this biomarker data and all other risk factors for lung cancer. So this particular one here shows, longitudinal wise, we follow on different kind of CT reports. So we can follow how many of those stables, keep it stables, or the size is increased, the size is decreased, or just all kinds of the status change across the years. So this is one of the research. I think that ends my session. As you can see, the AI or NLP or large language models, we use all those technologies, make the diagnosis more precision and faster. That is a precision end of it. It also supports a lot of drug development. That research on the GGO also supported by GNG because the paper is published now already. As you can see, that is really nice combination. We work with the hospital and also support life science research. So that is on the disease phenotyping and also the precision medicine end of it. So next, I'll move to the clinical trial design and operation. And as I explained earlier, clinical trial, actually 80% of the money in the whole drug development pipeline spent on clinical trials, because it's very hard to find the right patients in time and do that. So I have a couple of slides explaining that challenges, as I explained earlier. So the whole drug discovery process started with a big screening on all the compounds and go through preclinical, and then go to clinical trial stage, then get after all the data sacrifice and FDA review it and approve one and make at the end of the day make one approved. The bottom here I'm showing that there only 10% of the trials are successful, or turned out to be successful. And a lot of money has been spending, but only 10% of successful rate. So why is that? So there are a lot of research have been done in the fields indicating on one hand, those are the money spending, those are on from the sponsor pharma end, because they spending on billions of dollars annually to fund those patients, but they're not able to fund those patients in time. On the other hand, the patient, a lot of cancer, only 5% of the cancer patients were able to fund the trials. So there are just such a big gap and disconnection between trial and patient. That is what we really positioned to see if we can streamline the process. This is one very important paper published about 2-3 years ago. They actually use some of the AI technology to think, okay, so in the whole clinical trial process, if you relax your criteria a little bit, would you generate a similar endpoint analysis? Their answer is yes. So what we've been doing is we want also to see can use that findings to speed up the clinical trial recruitment. So what we did, the first thing we did is we have a system called auto criteria. What it does is to transform all the text, including exclusion eligibility criteria, using large language models, and then transform that into a structured, computable, into operable criteria, like what I showed on the right end of it. And then this is the performance. This paper is also published as well, just this month. So this, as you can see, the performance is very good. One important thing is also the generability of large language models. As you probably know, NLP in the past have been very customized approach, meaning that they actually for each disease area, let's say cancer and neuroscience diseases are very different. You probably have a different way of doing that. But large language models make it very generalizable. This is one simple pipeline spanning solid tumors, HEMS, neuroscience, NASH, IBD, Crohn's and UC, those are the immunology, and then a couple of rare diseases. They actually shows very nice results performance-wise. So there are lots of details, we call it last mile problems. The reason is, as I can show here in the criteria, they mention something, I want to exclude all the patients with infections. But in the patient data, there was no such thing called infections. It's really represented by, something like HIV, HBV, HCV, or TB, and those kind of infections. So there are also cardiovascular. They say, I don't want to have any patients with cardiovascular symptoms and all that, but translations really are different kind of CHF or IMI or arginine, all those kind of diseases specifically. So there are a lot of those hyper and hyponym translations there needs to be done. That we also put that. I did not show you how the system is designed. Feel free to reach out to me if you're curious about it or read the paper. So because of auto criteria, we got the analysis across all. This is, I believe, this is in different BCAs, breast cancer, multiple myeloma, prostate cancer, non-small cell lung cancer, and ID. Across all those different disease areas for last 20 years, how the criteria was designed on different attributes in terms of procedures, prior therapies, lab tests, and all that. So This is also the paper is under review right now. The other thing is, so besides that auto criteria, we link all the criteria to real world data. So right now, as a trial designer, you can just sit to say, okay, now I want to change the criteria from A to B. How many patients lose or gain because of this simulation? It helps pharma designers to really see, trial designers from pharma to see, okay, maybe I should stay relaxed because it does not, it does really affect my patient population in real world settings. So this is kind of emulation we have. I think we talk about this one. I'm moving. So by far, I've been telling you from a trial, how to find a patient for a trial. The other thing we can do, we have done actually, is for given patient, given his or her disease or manifestations, how do we find the patient? How do we find the trial for this patient? This is another paper we put together. We call it patient to trial. We really start with the patient characteristics and go through all kind of reasoning, learning, rating, and weighting, and all kind of things. At the end of the day, we find the match the trials based on the scoring systems we put together. So this is a patient to trial exercise we've done. The other is also the outcome of clinical trials prediction-wise. What we did is we survey all the given a question. For example, you're interested in you're designing a trial for CAR-T therapies. And then you want to look at, because this is a relatively new area, you want to look at for last 5 years, how my peers or my competitors really design their trials, and also what kind of endpoint analysis they have reached. So we manage through all those data, get all those knowledge on endpoint analysis discovered. It helps the trial designers really go through all those existing knowledge, external, especially from their competitors, to really help them to really design their sample size, design their clinical trials to optimize the whole recruitment. This is another paper we put together in multiple myeloma studies. So we use large language model or generative AI to manage through the endpoints measured and what are they, and also the adverse events analysis as well. So as the last this one, so we are also in the process developing a system called Chat Trial, which is to enable, I mean, you heard the ChatGPT, and this is the time you heard the Chat Trial. Really is whoever interested in trial designing, and you can ask, okay, how many trial, phase 3, 2, 3 trials for breast cancer, and how they design a particular test. And you can even ask, find all the patients in my database fits on a particular clinical trials. So those things are actually approachable nowadays with generative AI. I believe this is my last slide on clinical trial settings. And then I'll spend a couple of minutes to summarize what I've been told you so far. So I want to start by health systems. So because all the data, not all the data, a lot of the data coming from the health system, and then there are also, insurance claims data, registry data, and all those kind of different types of data. But, the real world settings are real patients from the hospital. There are a lot of data in this space, as I showed earlier on text. Also audio, I did not have time to show you how we do, speech to text or voice to text kind of solutions. Technology is very mature in that end as well. So the text audio enables all kinds of imaging, EHRs, signals, or genetic biomarkers, genome data, and all the graphs. All those data can be used to generate the knowledge on, the produce the publications, literatures, notes, and all that. So this will at the end help the physicians gain all those knowledge and then when they interact with their patient with that, a lot of cues, a lot of decision-making tools make their care process more effective and smooth and with the most updated technologies. As you can see, there are a lot of applications built on, chatbot for patients and also automated notes taking, documentation, and all those kind of stuff. I do want to mention, at least because we talk about the voice, so I can give a real example, which is realistic now on the voice becoming the text, and then we use large language model summarize all the text, so it helps the physician to really quickly know what happened to this patient, and also it can also help the encoding part of it to code to the standard ICDs, and then to help you to do the reimbursement. So that is realistic as well. So then the other thing I do want to bring your attention, which is, I talked a lot of large language model. I did not go to a lot of details on the model build of it, but I want to emphasize one thing, which is, the ChatGPT, GPT-3, GPT-4, Llama, or any kind of others, those we call the foundation models or generic large language models. There was another layer above that is we call it clinical or biomedical large language models. There are, those BioGPT, MedPalm, and all that. On top of that, they're also very knowledge intensive semantic large language models can be enriched through terminologies such as IMO terminologies to make it more granular and rich on generating the task and encoding the data to help the whole data standardization or harmonization business. So this is on the semantic AI end. The other quick conclusion I want to address is, I think, I went through not a lot, but some cases of, how we improve literature, social media, clinical notes, clinical trial, precision diagnosis. All those, at the end of the day, you want insights or evidence from it. Three key things to get there. One is the source of the data. The other is large language models or AI technology itself, and also the knowledge, what you've known or knowledge to train your data and models at the end of the day to have the best insights generated from the existing data and the technologies. So this is the synergy of it. I know I present a lot of things. It looks like I did this, but I did not. I have beautiful teams in the past and current organizations have put all those knowledge together, and this is really their work. And I think this is the end of my presentation for now, and I'm ready to take any questions you may have.
Thanks, Xiaoyan. That was great. Yeah, like she mentioned, if you have any questions, just type them in. Xiaoyan, we do have one. She said, very informative talk. But what are the similarities and differences between chat trial and Mendel AI solution?
Okay, interesting, because I also explored a little bit of Mendel AI. Actually, one of my colleagues talked to their demo and all that, asked simple questions. I'm sorry, I hope this is not offensive, but they actually said their performance is good, but then when we asked what are the benchmarks for that, and they don't have the answer. And I think I think the direction was very good from their ends, but I think it's not realistic to claim we've already solved the end-to-end process like that. The chat trial, so what we did, we actually implemented scientifically on every step of it, especially, let me give you an example on the chat trial, on the autocorrector part of it. I mean, you can easily claim, okay, you threw a prompt, can extract this data out. Sounds simple, easy. Yes, it is. It is so easy to do NLP nowadays. But let me tell you, there are a lot of scenarios behind just a simple concept extraction, which is, there, I know I mentioned in the slide stack the different symptom, different disease granularities. When you see infectious disease, it actually means HIV, HB, or hepatitis C, and all that. So that kind of translations. And the system I've seen so far presented by different tech companies nobody have ever addressed that. That means in a real world setting, you cannot use that kind of system to generate a usable solution because it does not handle that level of the question. We call it last mile problem. I mean, it's easy to see I framed something to solve it, but there are a lot of details really drive the success of the system. The other thing I did not show here on the clinical trial designing end, which is when you design a trial, you actually say something like, I wanted this to be allowed other than required, if possible. And there were lots of logic and the time mentioned in those contexts. All those together would make the reasonable prediction. But those things are extremely hard to handle, and I don't see any other systems handle that kind of complexity. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. Okay, another one came in. What considerations should like healthcare professionals or researchers keep in mind when they need to ensure the responsible and ethical use of these technologies?
I'm sorry. It's on the. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. So what should researchers keep in mind to ensure that they have like ethical use of these technologies? How do they make it ethical
Got you.
and responsible? Yeah.
That's a beautiful question. I did not touch at all on limitations or ethical of it, but it's important perspective using the AI. I did not talk about the limitations, risks of using large language models. One is a security risk. For example, if you pump enough, you're probably able to find some of those PHI information. So those are actually, the HIPAA and all that would not let happen. And I think that is one of the privacy areas we should pay a lot of attention to on that end. The other one is also on the transparency of the training data. For example, so I've been really hesitating to use purely just GPT-4 for any research. The reason is we don't know what are the training data coming from. There are those hidden biases. It's not transparent to users. So be really careful using those models. You don't know the source of the training data. So that is another kind of limitations. Or, as a researcher interested in the area, so whenever you use any models, think about, how the security, privacy, and also transparency of the data is handled there.
Great. Another one came in. So you showed an interaction with LLM where questions asked for phase 2 and phase 3 trials. The LLM replied with the count of phase 3 trials, but made no mention of phase 2 trials. Do issues such as this occur frequently, and are they a problem for your research, or do you just ask a follow-up question when needed?
Okay. I think the last one is still in the process of exploring. That's not a mature system yet. It's actually in the development stage right now. We still need to solidify a lot of technologies behind it. That's not the final system. I think if you go to Mandel AI solution and they claim they solved all this, but no. it's actually a lot of those experimental scenarios is not handled. So we are in the process of doing that. I'm not claiming that we got all those done.
Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and close out. It looks like that is all the questions that came in. Thank you, Xiaoyan, for leading this, and thank you to all of our attendees for joining us today on this afternoon. If you have any questions, you can contact our sales team at sales@imohealth.com. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thanks for attending.
All right, thank you.
Bye.